So, continuing with my season previews today, I'm going to be talking about Alpine, as of course they have their car launch today. So first, taking a look at their two drivers, of course retaining their lineup from last year of Pierre Gasly and Esteban Ocon. And I remember people talking about this last year, but still, when you look at their career stat sheet, almost identical. So for both Gasly and Ocon, of course, both from France, both 27 years of age. This past season, Gasly finished 11th in the Drivers' Championship. Ocon finished 12th. This is for both of them. This is their 7th full season in Formula One. Of course, Ocon did half his season in 2016, and Gasly did about a quarter of a season in 2017. This is Gasly's second year with Alpine, but this is Ocon's 5th year with Alpine/Renault, which is quite a long time for a driver of his caliber to be with one team, but good for him. Now, taking a look at their career stats, this is kind of where it gets kind of crazy. So for career races, Gasly 130, Ocon 133, career points 394, Ocon 422. So a very small difference there, despite the fact that they've driven very different cars across their careers. For Gasly, 4 podiums, Ocon 3, no poles, and each of them have 1 win. For Gasly, of course, the 2020 Italian Grand Prix, and for Ocon, the 2021 Hungarian Grand Prix, and of course, no championships for either of them. Pretty solid lineup, not a top class lineup with the Mercedes or the Ferrari, but still a really good lineup. And I think for where they are in the championship, it's not going to hurt them, I feel. Now, taking a look at Alpine year on year, and this is kind of where a lot of the criticism of the Alpine project comes from. So 2020, 181 points, 5th in the constructors. They got points finishes in 71% of the races. So basically, if you took the 2 driver entries, if you have 20 races, that would be 40 entries total. And then if they get points in 20 of those, that would be 50%. So 2021, 155 points, 5th in the constructors, and points finishes in 66% of their races. So a bit of a drop there in both points and points finishes. It did feel like they kind of stopped developing, and they were kind of focusing on the new regulations, which a lot of teams were doing. 2022, 173 points, 4th in the constructors, and 68% points finishes. So a good step up from the year before. They were ahead of Alpine, ahead of McLaren, but of course, you can argue a good amount of that was because of how much Ricciardo was struggling. And then 2023, 120 points, 6th in the constructors, and only 52% points finishes. So big drop there, drop from 4th and 6th to 6th in the constructors. Got passed by both McLaren and Aston Martin. But when you start looking at the absolute data and kind of looking at their gap from pole, and you can go and look at my season review from last year. For Alpine, the gap to pole is actually decreased steadily, so that's definitely a good sign. And I would expect that to continue. I would expect them to be pretty close to the front in qualifying, but I do think they're lacking in race pace. I know one of the big criticisms, or at least one of the general consensus, is that the Alpine is a bit down on power. It's not the best engine, but they have a pretty good chassis, as evidenced by the fact that they got a podium at Monaco, and they got a podium at a very wet Zandvoort, where downforce would have been pretty key. They struggled a lot at Monza, for example, but surprisingly, at the end of the season, Ocon got a 4th place at Vegas, which is definitely not a high downforce circuit. So kind of all over the place. Hopefully they can figure that out over the off season, and they can come out with a bang. That being said, I don't really see them challenging any of the top 5 teams in the constructors, and I do feel like if Racing Bulls are able to develop an excellent car using all those Red Bull parts, they might be challenging Alpine 6th place. Same with Williams. If they have a really good year, they could be challenging Alpine as well. Now, another criticism of kind of this project has been the management. So team principal as of now, Bruno Famin, who's basically, this is his first full year. There's no CTO, there's no technical officer or technical director right now. And the CEO of Alpine in general is Philippe Craig, who's also the CEO of Alpine, the automobiles company, which is basically a subsidiary of Renault. And there's been a lot of talk about how Renault, Renault, the company management has been kind of interfering and managing, micromanaging the team, and that was really one of the big criticisms of Laurent Rossi, and how there was a massive exodus of the talent that they brought in from 2020, 2021. Over the last couple of years because of not wanting to deal with Rossi. Of course, that management group, Rossi, Safnauer, were all kind of let go. Let's say at the Belgian Grand Prix last year, and they kind of started having to start from scratch again. So we'll see how it goes. I think it'll be another year of turnover. For them, I think for fighting for anything like wins or championships, I think these regulations are pretty much a write-off for Alpine. I think they really need to try to focus on 2026 and trying to get those engine regulations right, given how badly the last engine regulations went for Renault. So that's all for my preview for Alpine's 2024 F1 season. Should be a good one. So thank you so much for watching, and goodbye.